The Guru, Guru Nanak Saakhis by Rajni, Sekhri, Sibal. The one at school. On a rare bright morning during the monsoons in 1476, Gyani Ji, the school teacher at Rai Poi Ki Talwandi, was talking to a parent about his child. "Your son has a sharp mind, Bedi Ji. It's a pleasure to teach him." But Gyani Ji paused and looked up at the father of the child, Mehta Kalu, who glowed with pride at the compliments bestowed on his son. "Nanak knows everything, but sometimes he gets stuck on one word," said Gyani Ji. "He daydreams and goes into a world of his own." "Daydreams?" asked Mehta Kalu with a hint of irritation. "But you just said he's very sharp." "Oh, but he is," replied Gyani Ji. "Your son is very bright indeed, Beti Ji. He's much ahead of his class in everything. And yet," the teacher paused to find the right words, "Nanak sits in class with his eyes half shut and a beatific smile on his face. I'm quite certain that he hasn't heard a word of what I've said. And yet, when I ask him to stand up and repeat the lesson, he knows everything pat. In fact, he knows everything that was taught the day before, and last week, and last month, and before that too. I really don't know what to make of Nanak." "Ah," smiled Mehta Kalu and agreed. "Yes, he's like that at home too, Gyani Ji. I too feel that my son lives in a world of his own. Sometimes he goes into a trance. But mind you, he's conscious and mindful of everything that goes on around him without actively participating in it." Gyani Ji looked at the 7-year-old boy standing quietly beside his father and said, "Well, I find he's good at everything else. He can add, he can even subtract orally, but he's simply not willing to learn to write numbers." Mehta Kalu turned to his son, who stood listening to the conversation rather respectfully, and said, "You must pay attention, Nanaka. You have to try, son. How will you be able to do accounts and keep record when you grow up?" Sorry, Pitaji, I will try," Nanak said very solemnly for a 7-year-old. "All the children have already progressed further," said Gyani Ji, "but Nanak is still stuck on the first number. When I ask the class to write numbers, I have to literally shake up the boy sometimes. He diligently writes the same number again and again and stares at it in awe. For some reason, your son, Nanak, refuses to go beyond the number 1. Ik." "Ah, ik," whispered the child with an enigmatic smile on his face. "Ik," he wrote on the ground with a stone lying nearby. "Ik," the young Nanak repeated in wonderment. See," said Gyani Ji, pointing it out to his father. "This is what he does in class. He writes and rewrites the number 1, ik, and refuses to go beyond, as if there is something magical about the number." "But there is, Gyani Ji," said the boy to his teacher as he pointed to the letter he had etched on the ground, which was still wet from the rain of the previous night. "There is, Pitaji," he claimed, turning to his father. "Look at the number. Doesn't it speak to you?" Mehta Kalu looked at the letters his son had etched on the damp soil. "See, Pitaji, the very first number is so magnificent. I still have to understand what it really means. How do I go beyond it? Mehta Kalu looked again, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. What's so special about Ik, Nanika? He asked. The child retraced the letter he had etched and said, there is a whole world of wisdom in Ik, the number one. He then looked up at the puffy monsoon clouds in the azure blue sky and said, Pitaji, everything is encompassed by this one word, Ik. There's one sky, one sun, one moon, and all of us are one too. You, I, Mata Tripta, Nanaki, Gyani Ji, and everyone in the village. In fact, everyone in the whole wide world. Everything in the entire Kainat. The whole cosmos is one. Ik. Guru Nanak's eyes were shining as he explained what the number one meant to him. Gyani Ji, his teacher, and Mehta Kalu, his father, looked on quizzically. You know, every Tuesday, Mataji takes Nanaki and me to visit the temple of the goddess near the village well. Last month, grandfather took us to see the shops in town. He also took us to visit a large temple with idols of so many gods. There were hundreds of brass bells and thousands of earthen lamps, and the fragrant scent of incense was everywhere. It was beautiful, but somehow I kept seeing the number that Gyaniji taught us at school, the number one, Ik. Both the men shook their heads, unable to comprehend what the child was saying. What do you mean? Asked Mehta Kalu. What are you saying, son? And on that pleasant morning, hundreds of years ago, a 7-year-old boy said something that startled both his father and his teacher. Words that later formed the basis of Guru Nanak Dev's philosophy and his Mool Mantar. Words that continue to ring true even today. And he said, well, Ik, the number one, tells me that there is but one Almighty, one real reality, one who is true and one who is pure. One unknown power that drives the core, one unseen energy that's present in all, one creator who created all beings as one creator who is all pervasive yet one, the one who was there before nascence of time, the one who is there through rain and sunshine, and the one who will endure when all else is gone and naught remains but a serene, calm silence. That one true and omniscient one.